Making caramel. All caramel is melted sugar. The easiest way to do that is to do it in such a way so that it comes out smooth and consistent, and there's not a lot of granules, and it's not a grainy texture. The reason it gets grainy is because, well, let's just go through it. You'll see. Start off, I have like a tablespoon and a half of water in there. Turn the heat on, about a medium to medium high heat, and we're just gonna add a little less than a cup of sugar. It doesn't really matter, just depends what you're doing. And all we're gonna do, just spread that out so it's got an even layer, and then we don't do anything except place on the lid. Now what that's gonna do is the water from there is gonna steam, and as it melts, it's gonna melt evenly within the water, but it's also the steam is going to rise up and fall back down the sides of the pan, and any stray granules that may have got on the side of the pan or anything like that will be washed down. Now, if we didn't have the lid on, those granules would just be sticking there, and when you move forward in making caramel, if you have a spoon or you go to stir it with, a fork, or usually when you make anything with hot sugar, you use a wooden spoon. It doesn't take the heat on as much. But it would maybe pick up one of those granules, and then it starts this chain reaction, and basically just sends these shards of sugar crystals through your caramel, and you have to basically start from scratch. And it's easier. Lid on, don't touch it until you start to see it boiling. Now you can see the lid is a little bit steamed up, but you can see that the water that's in the pan is starting to boil. And you don't want to move this lid for at least 2 minutes after that. The sugar's going to be fine because that water's in there. Sugar begins to caramelize when there is no water. As long as there's water in there, you're not going to burn anything, so don't worry about it. Lid on, don't move the pan for at least 2 minutes. And that washes all the sugar crystals down, and you'll end up with a much better caramel in the end. Once the 2 minutes is over, we'll take the lid off, and that way the water can get out of there with, by evaporation. Then we can start to work on making the caramel sauce. That looks pretty good. All right. So what we've got here is sugar is boiling. Turn the heat down just a little bit. Electric stoves tend to, not be so accurate. And get the lid out of the way. Once the sugar bubbles, it's bubbling, and once the sugar bubbles start stacking, we know that the water's gone, and you'll be able to see it. I don't know how you can see from there. Yeah, you'll be able to see them start stacking up, and that means the water's gone, and basically the sugar is just molten sugar. And this can get upwards of 400 or 500 degrees, so you want to be very careful. And when you're making specific candies, you want to use a candy thermometer. The basic one looks a lot like this. You don't really need it for caramel, especially when you're at home. It's not a big deal. And a lot of people say not to move this at this point. To stir it, definitely, I agree with that. But I recommend, if you want to mess with it, swirl the pan like this. And what that does is, it's not doing anything other than what it's doing in there. It's not being agitated by an outside object, because even if a granule is like a speck of dust or something on a spoon that you enter into there, it can still set off that reaction. Basically, it's just waiting for something else to grab it. Since there's just sugar in there, if you just tilt the pan and swirl like this, you're going to be okay. And if not, it's just going to be a little bit grainy, no big deal. Now you're starting, I don't know if you can tell, you can see that it's not as translucent as, let's say, this glass here, this glass ramekin. It's starting to get a little bit of color. And this is, the sugar is caramelizing. This happens very quickly, and you got to start paying attention at this point. So when it starts to get into the, the caramel stage, there's different various stages of sugar. There's softball, hardball, hard crack and stuff like that. For making fudge or taffies or various other candies. But for caramel, we're going to take it to the furthest of that, and that's when you're going to start seeing the brown. And when it starts to get very, very, very light brown, that's when things happen very quickly. So we're getting there. Be very careful when making sugar. I'm making a small amount of caramel, and so it's, you know, it's not to the top, but if you were working with a large batch of this, I mean, it really is like molten lava. It will burn you up. On and off the heat. And also when you do this, this is a good way to incorporate air in it, which cools it down, but also thickens it up. It's hard to tell the consistency of a hot liquid when, like, whether it's a sauce or a caramel, when it's on the heat, because it's more smooth and runny. Then when it cools down a little bit, you can tell, you know, more of what the end result's going to be. So we're getting some color on there. We're getting very close. And at this stage, you can start to make a very light caramel, I guess. But the more traditional caramel is a little bit more done than that. But it's up to you. It's entirely your thing. If you want a lighter taste, you know, go for it. And another thing to keep in mind is the lighter the color, the sweeter the caramel. A very, very dark caramel will be more bitter because the sweetness is burned away, and now you're left with, you know, a more robust flavor. Kind of like a dark chocolate, or, you know, like a really roasted coffee. The sweetness is gone. So you can see we're starting to get the caramelization color here that we're looking for. And this happens very quickly. It will probably carry over without any heat, but we're just going to go ahead. And at this point, kosher salt, it melts really evenly. Just a sprinkle throughout. A lot of people don't think salt and sweet, you know, are always meant together, but if you really think about it, you know, some of the best desserts have that salty element. But salt in this case isn't meant to be salty. Salt is has a natural ability to make foods taste more like themselves. I'm going to kill the heat here. So when you put salt into something, it opens up your taste receptors and allows, you know, like a carrot to taste more like a better carrot, and allows, in this instance, the caramel to taste more like caramel. So we've swirled, we've got a nice caramel color, heavy cream. This is actually, in England they would call it double cream. This is heavy whipping cream. There is also whipping cream, which is just heavy cream, but you can use both. This is just a little bit more fat in it. It's okay. So this is gonna steam, bubble, everything else, because we're putting a cold liquid into a hot thing, but that's gonna do two things. It's gonna thicken up our caramel. It's gonna provide a consistent texture, but it's also gonna cool it down and stop the caramelization. So here we go. We start with about a cup of sugar. And that was just a little under a cup of the cream. Back on the heat. Now, this is not wise. Do not use metal utensils when dealing with hot sugar. But at this point, it's cooled down enough, it's going to be okay. Heat back on just a little bit to help reduce this cream. The caramel was a little cooled off before I added it, so I just need to reduce this down some. Normally I would have steamed a lot more and reduced the cream, the water out of the cream more, but that's okay, we can do it in the pan. Just to incorporate that, a whisk would be really good, but I just grabbed a butter knife. So this would be a good caramel for, you know, ice cream and stuff like that. When making a sauce or a caramel or anything like that, there's a consistency that, you know, in the French term is nappe, N-A-P-P-E. And it basically, here we go, we start to reduce. And basically what that means is you want the sauce to have the consistency to where it'll hold on itself. So this is going to be really hot, so I don't want to do it with the caramel. But you can see the way that's holding to the spoon. So it's a little bit runny. Now with the sugar, it would have done that and it would have hardened in the air. But with the cream added in there, you're making more of a sauce texture. So we're just looking for that nice ability to coat. And remember that it will reduce down or thicken up more when it cools. So just nice swirl. It smells amazing. So a little bit more, heat down just a little bit. And that's incorporated enough, we really don't need this. And all we're doing now is getting the water out of the cream. Just thicken up the sauce a bit. but you could use it now, perfectly fine. Cooking doesn't have to be hard. Just get your steps laid out ahead of time. So that's a nice dark caramel sauce. That'd be with ice cream, bananas, whatever. Just let it cool. And you can serve it hot, I guess, but it's very, very hot. So I would recommend leaving this, something like this, cool for, I don't know, 20 minutes. And come back, stir it up a little bit. You can always warm it up. And that's how you make caramel sauce.